Good morning, Big Weir, roadrooter.com with your morning horn of Z's, your sip of coffee. Um, I was wondering how they would get Bitcoin back down to the 30% drops that it usually has, because people had started buying after JP Morgan. JP Morgan's Jamie Dimon made his little comment the other day, and here's how they did it. Bitcoin exchange BTCC will close by October and slam the price of Bitcoin down, and everything goes down with the price of Bitcoin. A couple things I want to mention here. The BTCC and all the exchanges work off a model that ensures that they do not hold all the cryptos that they claim to hold, that the customers have claims on. So anytime they try to rebalance the portfolio, they either have to claim there was a theft or they have to shut down a delayed shutdown. Now, the BTCC, this delayed shutdown that they announced, that they will close by October 30th. And what does that do? It slams the price down on Bitcoin. In China, it went down like 35%. So that BTC China can load up on their missing Bitcoin while the rest of the world scrambles to get their money out of that exchange. They'll probably make money big time on this, because now they know they had to, say they had 20%, they were 20% short on Bitcoin compared to the amount of customers that have Bitcoin supposedly in their exchange. Well, the price has dropped 35%. They're going to load up on Bitcoin at some point to cover that, and then they're going to give everybody their Bitcoin back, and they're sitting there with an extra 10% of Bitcoin. That's the kind of thing that happens in these intentional shutdowns. And it's also part of a bigger plan. The bigger plan was to slow down the cryptocurrencies. They were moving too fast, and that's not what is wanted by those people who control the markets. Rigging the Bitcoin market, rigging the cryptocurrency market is much different than rigging the COMEX and the LBMA. Rigging the COMEX and the LBMA, all you got to do is throw a bunch of shorts on it with computer derivative algorithms, and you're fine. It goes down, and no physical metal has to trade hands. With the cryptos and Bitcoin, it's different. You gotta make announcements. You have to make maneuvers. Because there's not a large derivative market in the cryptos. So this is a specific maneuver, I believe, by those who want Bitcoin to continue to be accepted in this crypto world that's being built over here. And it's basically a little hammer on the head, not a crush, a little tap. Say, hey, get back down, take a 30% drop, and then we can start up again. So that's kind of what's going on right here, in my belief. And it's becoming more and more obvious that they do this. But BTCC, of course, will be loading up on the Bitcoin they were short right now to cover all the people who are going to withdraw their physical Bitcoin because they didn't have their Bitcoin. They didn't have their cryptocurrencies. That's the business model of these exchanges, is they got to pay expenses somehow, right? And as long as everybody doesn't pull it out at the same time, then they can run this model. It's just like fractional reserve banking. It's fractional reserve Bitcoin trading on the exchanges. But now people have to turn that Bitcoin into either cash it out for physical cash, yuan or dollar or however they do it on this exchange, probably yuan, or they have to take their Bitcoin out via a Bitcoin transaction that's on the blockchain, and then they will own that physical Bitcoin. Or if they put it on a paper wallet, it's physical Bitcoin. But that's what's going on here. Will it last? No, it's not going to last. I think it'll probably last through maybe the end of the month, where Bitcoin will be going up and down. It's very volatile right now. And remember, the big money wants to get in, and they don't want to get in at high prices. They want to get in the lowest prices possible. So they might throw a couple more things out to get it under $3,500. I think the 30% retrenchment, or 33, it's either 30 or 33 that usually Bitcoin goes to, anywhere between 3,000 and 3,500. We're just about there. So we'll see what happens. But there's also all kinds of things going on in the world. Let's go over to Zero Hedge. First story, Bitcoin crashes 35% in Chinese trading. That's in Chinese trading on those markets. And that's exactly what they wanted. They wanted people selling so that they can cover their empty hole of clients who own Bitcoin that the exchange doesn't own the Bitcoin. So now they can either, those clients will either sell for yuan. Those trying to pull it out will probably be delayed a little bit until the BTCC can load up on the cheap Bitcoin and then give them their Bitcoin. But there's all kinds of things going on. North Korea preparing for ICBM launch again. Interesting that it's all happening in September. Like I said, September is going to be crazy. Who knows what's going to go on there. August consumer prices surge as shelter costs spike most since 2005. Great news. The cost to drive and insure your car has never been greater and is surging. And the cost of a roof over your head just jumped the most since 2005. There's a lot of missing roofs now also in Florida, which is very sad. If you've seen the pictures, it's a insurance nightmare. You know, the insurance companies were bumped up at some time in the last, right after or during the storm by Steve Mnuchin's computer programs, but that won't last. These insurance companies are going to get really, really hurt. Bill Blank crawls back into his pit. There's apparently nothing to worry about. Disappointing China data and threat of poor U.S. data is momentary, apparently. But, again, mood and sentiment can change on a dime. I shall crawl back into my pit and ponder. There's nothing to ponder. The entire system is run off computer programs and has been since the late 1960s, early 1970s, when Alan Greenspan implemented his computer programs with Arthur Burns, the head of the Fed, and then he went to the Council of Economic Advisors to run his computer programs for Gerald Ford, and Greenspan has been, he's no longer in charge of the computer keys. The bad guys took him over in the late 80s, and then we took him back at least somewhere around when Trump got in. So, yes, the good guys control the models, but they're going to run the system, and the overall goal is to print as much money as possible, soaking up all the benefits of unbacked fiat money. That's why they're going to give free health care to everybody. That's why they're going to pay for all these hurricanes with money printed out of thin air. That's why they're going to give everybody everything they want, because they want to implode the U.S. dollar, destroy everything, and go back to some other kind of monetary system, which is the best thing for the largest debtor nation in the world, the United States. Let's see. Trump, no deal was made last night on DACA. The wall will be built. Okay, let's read between the lines here. Last night, Trump had a dinner with Pelosi and Schumer and a couple other people. And he says, no deal was made last night on DACA. Massive border security would have to be exchanged for consent. Would be subject to vote. The wall, which is already under construction in the form of new renovation of old and existing fences and walls, will continue to be built. They're going to spend and spend and spend. They're going to spend on the wall. They're going to spend. Bernie Sanders' new idea to give everybody free health care is going to happen. And that's the whole idea. Spend, spend, spend. The whole idea was a single-payer system. Have the government in charge of everything. And, of course, that works out very well for places like Venezuela and Argentina, and we don't have the money to do that. And that's the idea, to destroy the monetary system. North Korea threatens to sink Japan with nuclear weapons, reduce the U.S. to ashes. This guy's a freak and crazy, but there's something going on behind the scenes there. We'll see what happens as far as what Trump does militarily. There are issues, there are secret weapons we can deploy that will literally put a little bubble over North Korea and not allow them to shoot anything out. But there's the bigger things are what's going on behind the scenes. Those that control North Korea are the bad guys, the Bushes, the Rockefellers, and those bad guys. So they're not going to do, Kim Jong-un is not going to do anything without the okay of those guys. And that might be the ultimate stand between the good guys and bad guys, is a war. I hope not. I don't think it will be. But they're running out of options. Trump is ready to drain that swamp, and we'll see what happens. Pound surges after Bank of England keeps rates unchanged, warns withdrawal of stimulus is likely coming in months. It's just a lot of talk, and then they rigged everything with computers, so there's a whole lot of nothing there. Bank of England decision preview. We've already gone through that. Global stocks pull back from all-time highs on poor Chinese data. All eyes on CPI. The data is ridiculous. The data is made-up fantasy stuff that's been made up for so long they can never get back to the real data, ever. That can never be done until the whole entire system crashes. The whole scuttlebutt on the news lately is Hillary Clinton's book. If you look at Hillary Clinton, I saw the CNN interview. She's looking younger and younger by the day. How does she do that? Is it really Hillary Clinton? Is it, there's a lot of talk of clones. There's a lot of talk of her being dead. I don't know, but apparently she found the cure to aging and is looking, at times she looked like she was about to die during the election process. And she looked completely different at other times, and she'd pass out, faint, and be left for dead. And then the next day, she'll be just, brand new, spry, looking 20 years younger. This interview with CNN, she looks 20 years younger. So please, Hillary, if that was in your book, I would buy it. How to drop 20 years off your age in a matter of months. The rumors are that they're using clones. I mean, how far do you want to go down the conspiracy hole? I am not convinced that she is still alive. There are body doubles that she's used in the past, and they've interviewed them on the news. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with the whole Hillary Clinton thing, and it's really bizarre. The book is really bizarre. It talks about 1984. There's a quote. She quotes 1984, how it would be good to have the government in charge of your life. It completely misses the whole concept of the book. So, Juncker unveils grand vision for the United States of Europe. What Mr. Juncker wants de facto is to force the European Union into a single state. And we know that the euro is not a success story. The second thing Mr. Juncker wants is de facto to actually get rid of the internal borders. We see 10,000, 100,000, millions of African and Arabs going to be coming to our continent. The reality is that the European Union is there to destroy Europe. Many Germans are already moving to Argentina, where many of them went right after World War II. So if I lived in Europe, I wouldn't be real positive about the future. I would look at trying to get out, but where do you go? That's the problem. You don't want to go to the Americas. I mean, South America? I don't know. Do you trust those governments to let you live freely? I don't know. A lot of people moving to Antarctica, believe it or not. There's another ad for they needed. What did they need? A big ad that Cliff High posted on his Twitter site that they needed, firemen. They need firemen in Antarctica. I would assume the population of Antarctica is growing by about 3,000 or 4,000 per month. Huge goings on down there. Nobody talks about it. Nobody's allowed to talk about it. But what did they find down there? I think there's a lot going down in Antarctica that we aren't allowed to know about, humanity. Only the upper elites. That's why all the big high-level people, John Kerry and Putin and the Pope and the head of the Russian Orthodox Church have all gone down to Antarctica recently. Will Trump go? Probably at some point. We'll see what happens. De-dollarization spikes. Venezuela stops accepting dollars for oil payments. Did the doomsday clock on the petrodollar, the implicitly U.S. hegemony, just tick one more minute closer to midnight, apparently confirming what President Maduro had warned. Following the recent U.S. sanctions, the Wall Street Journal reports that Venezuela has officially stopped accepting U.S. dollars as payment for its crude oil exports. This is the unwinding of the petrodollar. The petrodollar meant by force or by coercion, every country in the world was required to pay for oil in dollars, U.S. dollars. This started in the 1970s, and it continues today, although it's falling apart with all kinds of swaps going on with Russia and China, and that's what we want. We want the destruction of the dollar. The petrodollar, what it did was it made an artificial demand for U.S. dollars. If every country had to keep dollars in reserves because they needed them for oil purchases, then you had the strong dollar policy. And add that to all the market rigging in the forex markets, and you got this can go on forever. But we don't want it to go on forever. The United States is losing the war now. We are losing the currency war. And we win if everything is destroyed because we're the largest debtor nation in the world. Jamie Dimon speaks. I'm not even going to talk about that ass. Robbie Travers on campus censorship, ignoring Orwell at their peril. Where would our culture be without the freedom to question, be creative, or at times offend? I heard there's some conservative powwow going to go on in Berkeley. And nothing happens in Berkeley on the conservative front. So it is just trouble waiting to happen. Get ready for it. They want it to spark World War III, I think. That's going to be the spark, or at least a civil war within the United States. But the problem with Berkeley and Northern California, where I live, is that who are they going to fight? I mean, they're going to have to go somewhere else to fight people. The left is all over Northern California. There's very few conservatives or very few people willing to speak up about their beliefs that we're all being gamed and played. So where will a civil war be fought? We're pretty much all the liberals are on the far left coast and the far right northern coast, and all the conservatives are somewhere in the middle of the United States. So where is this civil war going to happen, and who's going to leave their cushy home? Do you see people in Berkeley picking up arms and traveling to Kentucky to fight a civil war? No, not at all. They're on the internet. These people don't fight in real wars. They fight with their mouths. So we'll see what happens. Let's see. Paul Craig Roberts, behold, a pale horse and its rider is Washington. It's becoming biblical. He's right. Remember, Paul Craig Roberts was in with the good guys in the 1970s and 80s, and with Reagan and the whole idea to print as much money as possible. And he understands that what Alan Greenspan was doing back in the 70s and 80s, controlling the markets after we went off the gold standard. Real interesting. And then we have college students rejoice. Bernie Sanders introduces long-awaited Medicare for All bill. At least 4 potential 2020 Democratic presidential contenders, Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts, Kristen Gillibrand of New York, and Kamala Harris of California, and Cory Booker of New Jersey have all signed on to the plan. Yes, Medicare for All. They want everybody to have health insurance. Would it destroy the U.S. dollar? Absolutely. Does the U.S. dollar need to be destroyed? Absolutely. So, yeah. Bernie hasn't gone away. They didn't take my suggestion of the Bernie-Trump ticket. So I think Trump and Bernie will still get together on some level as this whole thing falls apart and as the banks collapse. There'll be so much anger that a lot of people will be turning to Bernie, and probably Trump will say, "Hey, Bernie, come on board and let's help the people of America." And they trust you; they don't trust me. But you got some good ideas. If we're going to spend all the money we can while we still can, might as well do all these programs that you've been supporting. A lot of people don't like that idea because they think, "Oh no, that's communism and blah blah blah." Well, when the system falls apart and you don't have anything, your country has nothing. The gold and silver bugs are not willing to give up their gold and silver to give to everybody else. They're not going to be used as money. I'm sorry, gold and silver bugs, but no, it's not going to be used as money again. Maybe you can hold on to them because the mentality of gold and silver as money has been manipulated out of the system. Nobody knows anything about it anymore, and no one cares about that. They care about their everyday life, getting by, And if the old system doesn't work, we need something new, and it'll be probably, most likely on the digital front. Hopefully it'll be crypto based with decentralized control. But that's soon to be discovered. We'll find out when the banks start crashing, which I think it should start any week, any month now. Lots of problems being reported behind the scenes. They're bailing out a lot of people as we speak. And then will we jump into fascism and or communism? I don't know. I don't know. I think everything would change if the monetary system collapses. Then we got to start fresh. Might as well go back to the Constitution, if you ask me. So that's my news for this morning. Big Weir. It's kind of down and gloomy. Definitely hang on to your cryptos. If you haven't bought in full force, now's the time to do it. They're going to go up again pretty soon, and there'll be more FUD run around, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. But that's, hey, if you're going to be a coiner, if you're going to be a Bitcoiner, you got to deal with this stuff. And this is how you earn those multi-zillions of dollars you'll get, is by riding out the lows, buying on the lows, and then riding it out. If you want to buy on the low, sell on the high, I would say we're reaching the low very soon. But it's not going away. And 2 years from now, you're going to be kicking yourself that you didn't understand what was happening, that these are artificial spikes down, and then you get the run up. So good luck out there to everyone. We'll talk to you later.